Hello and welcome to episode 90 of Ruse Radio. That is right, 90 episodes. Oh my gosh. And we are back again with a very special guest, a guest that I've done a song with, but we've never talked until this very moment. Special guest, could you please introduce yourself?
What's up, everybody? My name is Shamothy. My real name is Samir, but yes, I'm a rapper from Memphis, Tennessee.
Now, that name, how does Shamothy come about? Because I've thought about this, and it never really, I could never come up with a theory.
So for me, it was in high school, back in high school, I had a nickname, Sham Nizzle, which I did not tell anybody to call me. People did just start calling me that. But that was like senior year, and I made it my Instagram handle, and then I never said it out loud. I was just like, yeah, it's just how people see me online. And then I started rapping again for real in 2020. And when I made my TikTok name, I made my wife said, she was like, oh, like, I was like, I need another name. I need a fake name. She's like, just call it Sham. You know, you're Sham. And I was like, Sham's cool, but I just kind of wanted to extend it. So initially, I was Shamothy Taylor Thomas on TikTok, and then I got so many comments that were like, "That is such a long name. I never remember who you are because your name is so long." And I was like, okay. So I just dropped the Taylor Thomas.
That would work if you were a country artist.
Yeah, I think that was I was like, man, this is really, I liked it, but I was like, when I started putting it on, like, you know, because nobody was playing shows then, so I was like, I didn't even think about this, but whenever I started putting it on fake flyers and stuff like that, or like sending out emails to people, I was like, Shamothy Taylor Thomas is a fucking mouthful, dude. So I kind of just dropped that, and by the time I started putting out music, I really just wanted to go by Sham, but Shamothy, I think, made my wife laugh a little bit more, so I was like, we're just going to keep it as Shamothy, and now it's been like about 4 years, and it still kind of feels weird that is like the rap project that I'm in, because like, I don't know, like I've just been rapping for so long, and I never thought that I was like, oh, I'll just make this fake name, and like, you know, like it's just like, it's weird how it came about.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, that's often how the best names come about. It's just a little spark of imagination, you know, because it now I realize, okay, so Sham was already kind of a pre-established thing, and then you combine that with like a real name, and as a joke, like Timothy, and it was a joke.
Bro, that's how I say it, like whenever because like I've talked to some people that I've met online, and it's very like, oh, Shamothy, and I was like, how do I explain it in a way that is like not rude? You know, so I was like, no, it's like Timothy, but a fake name, so it's a Shamothy. And that was like how so like whenever I'm like telling people, they're like, oh, how do you say this? I'm like Timothy, but Sham, you know?
Yeah. So, okay. So that was also part of so if I had any theory at all, that's kind of where I was going with it. It's like, my name's Ruse, and I always explain that to people, and everything is a ruse.
Yeah.
So everything is a ruse in a way, and, you know, everything is something portrayed to be something else. But you could say the same exact thing with the word sham. You could say everything is a sham. And so that was my only theory, but that kind of what you just said goes along those lines. It's the same kind of idea. You just Sham being a fake name, and then Shamothy being a fake name. Got it. Okay. See, now it all makes sense. I feel like it's like I've heard the same song 10 times in a row, and I finally get the punchline, you know? I feel like a genius right now. Well, tell me, sir, in Memphis, as you were drumming, How did that play into your relationship with music? Because from my studies, it seems as if you were a drummer long before you were a rapper.
Yes. Wow, that's cool, man. Yeah, man. I actually was a drummer. That was the first instrument I ever played. Well, I played piano when I was like 7, but like I was fine. I didn't really. I capped out at scales. I was like, I'm good. But when I was 8, I started playing. I got into like Blink-182 and like pop punk and stuff like that. So I was like, I got really into drums. I was like at a piano lesson, and I just like saw a drum set. I was like, oh, that'd be cool. And then I just got like really obsessed with it. So I actually started playing music when I was 8 with my older brother, and he was playing guitar, I was playing drums, and we just did covers of, like just whatever we could learn. And then we eventually started a band, and I was like playing shows from like I started playing shows at 12, and like was just in this like DIY pop punk scene in Memphis. There's a bunch of house shows and stuff like that. Really, really cool scene to grow up in. But like, I would say that, like, and then I did like drumline and stuff in high school. So I got really into like band and that whole side of playing music. But it wasn't really until like senior year of high school, and then like really my first year of college, where like I like fully dived into hip hop. Because I think for the most part I was hanging out with a lot of the same people for like 10 years, and we all listened to the same stuff, and we all got influenced and went to the same shows and stuff like that. And then when I got to college, I went to a different college than all of my other friends. I didn't go to the same college as my girlfriend, and I was just like alone a lot. So I would get on. This was 2012, 2013. So I was living on Pandora, and I literally just went to. The only rapper I was really into was like Childish Gambino and like Kid Cudi, because I was an emo kid. I was listening to like Fall of Troy and like, Chiodos and, all these random ass like screamo bands. And then I was like in college, I was like, damn, they're telling crazy stories in hip hop. And I just got so enthralled. Like I just like went on their Pandora, and like you just pick an artist and they just play, all these random rappers, and I just like fully dived in and spent like 2 years like really just listening to all the classics, and getting like a sense of understanding of like this whole scene that was going on while I was like just playing drums somewhere else. And like, so like eventually when I started rapping, I didn't even think about it, to be honest. It just like, it was a very, it was just like, oh, like, I don't think I have anything important to say, because I was like 20 when I started, and I was just like smoking with my friends, and they were like, we should all like record a song. And even like the first bullshit song we did, I remember having such a weird flow on it. And everyone was like, damn, dude, that was actually, that was like pretty crazy. Like, how'd you do that? I was like, I don't know, that's just like what I heard, And I don't know, like I didn't even think that it would play a part into it. But especially after like posting on TikTok and shit, a lot of the comments I get are just like, what a weird flow. Wow, you're such a weird guy. And I was like, God damn it, dude. Like, this is just how I hear the shit, Like, So that's
what's funny about weird people is that they don't realize they're weird until the world tells them that they are.
Absolutely, dude. I'm like, thank you guys. I just thought I was, and I always thought I was like, maybe this is just because like I didn't grow up listening to it, so I don't have like, I don't know. I mean, I grew up.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that plays a role. Because I just firmly believe that like whatever you're doing now is influencing whatever you're putting into your music, and whatever you've done accumulatively. Damn, that's a tough word right there. Throw that in a rap. But just that whole idea of like everything in your life is everything that led to right now. That's always what the moment is.
Absolutely.
And so I just can't even imagine not being a product of that. So the band you were talking about before, was that Well Kept, or was that a different band?
So no, it was a different band. The band I started way back in the day is a band called Adaje, Adaje, and that was like my it was my first band, right? So I joined that it was me and my brother with like a rotating bassist until about 2010. And in 2010, we had a bassist join, and he was older. He was like, my older brother's 5 years older than me. And then the bassist we got was 5 years older than him. And he had experience touring. And the whole thing was, he's like, I'm going to join the band and we're going to tour. That's like the band's priority. And I was like, cool. So I was like 15. And for that summer, we went on a 4 or 5 day run, and it just like started this whole other journey, where like over the next 2 years, like we're trying to tour as much as possible. That band we kind of like split ways around 2012 when I went to college and was like getting into hip hop and stuff. And then I started another band with my brother called Grayscale, and we toured very extensively from like 2012 to 2016. And then we kind of reformatted the band and started again as Jadewick, Jadewick. And that band is from 2017 until now. So that's like that is like the continuation of like my initial band, like I've always been in a band with my older brother. So like that is that main project for me. And that's like what I sent, like whenever I would tell people that I was a musician, like that's the project I was talking about. And then, in 2017, I, through Drumline, had met my buddy Caleb, and he was in a 2-piece. It was him and his friend Tyler. They were like, "Yeah, I'm in this like math rock 2-piece. I just want you to listen to the demo." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And we were just like smoking at the house, and he he was like, "Oh yeah, we need like a bassist to come in and like record for the record." And I had, through my musical endeavors, I played piano, mainly drums, but I had also like dabbled in guitar and bass and stuff. But I was like, I would never play guitar in a band, but I would love to play bass at some point in my life. I knew that. And he was like, "Do you want to play bass in this band?" And I was like, "I'll record a record. I'll figure it out." And I just learned how to play bass, joined the band, and I've been in that band ever since. And that was a project called Well Kept, and then we renamed during the pandemic, and we are now Accept It. So yeah, that's my 2 other projects that I'm in. I play drums in Jadewick, and then I play bass in Accept It.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And so you look at these things as separate from hip hop. You think of like when you're writing your rap stuff, you don't think that really like plays a role in the way that you write?
I think
or at least like you don't think of them as the same thing, I should say.
No. And it's funny. So like, cause with Shamothy, it was so unstructured for a while. You know what I mean? Like it was because it for me, Shamothy wasn't a real project until like the end of 2020. Really, like I had recorded songs in April of 2020, like first month of the pandemic, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna just drop these right now because I'm like, and then I just like sat on them because I wasn't really putting out music. So these projects have always been like since, way back in the day. Whenever I join a band with other people, like we meet up once a week. Once a week for sure, maybe twice depending on the week. But once a week with like a regimented like 2 to 3 hour practice. And that's all the time. So we're like in constant communication. So it does have like, it's a separate space. I get to go there and like really dive into that. But like for the most part, I do keep them somewhat separate. I don't think that in the writing process, I like to think that a lot, like all of the ideas come from the same realm. And then you kind of, as you flesh out the idea, you kind of get to find out where it's going. It's like I've started writing lyrics for Shamothy that end up being in an accepted song, and vice versa, Jadewick is kind of special because like I just kind of get to go in and play drums, which is like a different language. But I should say also, just for context, I did start putting out rap music in 2015 under a different name. And that was with my little brother. And we were 17 Trill. So I did put out, a lot of music while I was figuring out how to write my own music in hip hop. So, that was like 2015 to 2019, something like that. But we put out like a string of random albums with all kinds of different sounds just because it was like, I know how to write, emo music and I know how to write heavy screamo music. But like when it came to hip hop, like it really was its own thing because like I didn't know how to tackle it,
Oh, of course. I mean, like, that's funny because I have the opposite problem. If I try to write something that's like metal or emo or even, I mean, I can do rock. But when it comes to stuff like metal, I don't understand the mechanisms that go into that. And it's just that I haven't consumed enough of it. It's as simple as that. I just don't even understand how it works. But with hip hop, I've always, and I like that you mentioned that about the storytelling aspect of hip hop, because to me, that's why I've always loved it. That's the number one thing that's connected with me is the way that someone can shed light on a certain aspect of something in their own way that other people can look at and interpret in their own way. And they can do it with such intricacies and such precision that you can't have in other genres. It's not quite the same. Like you could still do something that's, abstract and something that really is like making you think. You can do that with other genres, but when hip hop does it right, that's why Kendrick is Kendrick, because it's so provocative.
Exactly.
And I cannot stress that enough. And that's just always been what I loved about hip hop. And I think that nowadays, like, there's just so much. Hip hop has evolved into something that's beyond what it initially was. And so people call things that weren't hip hop before hip hop. And the culture is just different. That's really the problem, is that we need different distinctions because everything's hip hop now.
Man,
so to me, hip hop is that thing that can touch on something that nothing else can. And a lot of hip hop now it's just party music, which is fine.
Yeah.
I respect it, but it's just different. It's different than my conception of it. And when I make party music, again, it goes back to what we were saying about struggling. I struggle to make like a thoughtless rap song. I can't do it, dude. I can't.
Tell me about it. Like, I tried. There's some, and it's so weird because, like, I would say even with, like, I've gone through so many phases on TikTok where I'm like pumping out verses. Like, especially like, 2 years ago, I was pumping out 2 verses a day sometimes, where I was like, wow, this is like definitely going to end up in a song. Like, this shit, I was like, I'm on something right now. And then, like, I'll just have like weeks where I'm like, nah, I ain't got anything. You know what I mean? And then, like, but it always, what gets me fired up is always shit like that. When I see someone who's just when I see a video and it's just like a banger and they're just talking, you know what I mean? I'm like, how do you do that? Every time I start writing, I'm like, all right, what am I sad about? Like, what am I trying to talk about right now? Like, it's very like, and like, it's so weird because like, I've had conversations with people where they're like, oh, you make rap music. Cool. Like, anything I can dance to? And I'm like, that would be wild, wouldn't it? If I made shit you could dance to? Because, like...
So, there's this song I wrote recently, and it's coming soon. But there's a line I say in that song you just reminded me of. Let me pull it up real quick. I got it right here. So... Put you in a trance, he the psychedelic messenger, head is the receiver, absence will be the death of her. I've been wide awake since the day I'm out the womb, no breaks, all love till the day I'm in a tomb. What you trying to dance? Bitch, I'm writing a confessional. I'm giving you the answers to my life as a professional. Slow your roll, see the ruse is so biblical, always out of body if the soul is metaphysical. But that line there about what you trying to
Goodness.
What you trying to dance? Bitch, I'm writing a confessional.
Yeah.
It's a great line.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. Like, dude, I'm writing poetry here. Like,
dude,
this is not.
That's the thing, man. Like, it's such a. I always like to I like having fun artwork, right? And I would like to say that I'm a very chill person in real life, which is always, I think, funny when they're like, oh, you're a rapper, you must think you're the shit. And I was like, well, I do, but like, there's a time and place for it. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a musical version of Reading the Room almost. Like, you can't be tough shit on every song even. Like, you can't be that same guy. Some people really struggle with that. They don't know how to bend their style, and that's such. I mean, if you're just starting out, it's impossible basically because you don't have a style yet. But really, it's hard. It's something that you have to figure out, because if I rap on one beat as opposed to another beat, I might even have to use my voice a different way, and I might not even realize that until I'm behind the microphone in the booth. Like, that's something that's very hard to.
Yeah, dude, you are. I was gonna say this at some point, but I would say that is something you are very good at, is finding because like you have such a range with it, and I've seen you go like, use your like deeper voice, and then like using the higher raspy stuff on like those like, you just like, you cater to the beat with like the tonality you use a lot of the time, and that's why I really fuck with that, like.
Because it matters. Because it matters so much.
It really matters, dude.
It matters beyond, like, it's one of those things that people register on a subconscious level. Like, they feel that you feel it. And that's what it really is. Like, that's not even something I consciously think about. Like, oh, this beat needs this. It's usually I'm right there and I'm just doing it, and it pulls it out of me. Or even when I'm writing, I'm hearing it in my head. I'm like, oh, I have to use my voice like this.
Yeah.
And like, I've just learned that from other people. Really, I never figured that out. I mean, I sort of did intuitively, but really, I'm sure I've been influenced by artists that I've heard. Like Kendrick, I hate to cite him a million times, but he's like, he's such a perfect example.
Look.
Yeah, he does a SpongeBob voice, that guy. And it works.
So I thought this was really funny, and people, I've gone in and out of being called corny my entire time I've been in this scene, right? But something that I was heavily, like people on Reddit are obsessed with, like, especially like, or at least in the Donald Glover subreddit, they're obsessed with like the BTI era of Gambino, and rightfully so. It was a really cool era to live through, but it inspired so much confidence in me. Like, it literally made me so confident to think that I could rap on a beat type shit. So it was like, but there was like an interview that Donald Glover did where they were like, he was saying something like, it doesn't matter, like, like, you, like, people, he's like, you think that every rapper coming up is like, oh, Biggie is the best rapper, or like Tupac is the best. They're like, they don't listen to that shit, and it's like, that's so prevalent in today's time. So like, whenever I would tell people, I'd be like, oh yeah, Gambino is my favorite rapper, they're like, wow, okay, like, so you're not even like a real hip hop fan. And I was like, dog, like, what else can I do?
That is
like,
such a hater thing to say.
You know what I
That
mean?
is okay. You gotta understand that, like, if somebody says some bullshit like that to you, immediately you're a hater,
I'm
bro.
like, it's so out of your way. Because, like, to me, like, what else is it? Like, how isn't it more?
Because they're probably thinking, see, this is the thing, like, it's, who knows what they mean nowadays, but I would assume it's what I said before, that they're thinking original, classic, boom, bap, hip-hop. They're thinking when you say hip-hop, you're talking Tupac, you're talking Biggie, you're talking the classics.
And it's not.
So when you come at them with something like that, it's like, but honestly, when I hear something like that, immediately I think, oh, you were going to talk shit no matter what I was going to say.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It didn't matter.
Absolutely. And to me, it's like, what, isn't it more authentic for me to like pull from the people that got me into it? Because to me, like,
what influences you, because that's what your soul's gonna hear and feel, and that's what's gonna pull the reality out of you in your own art, of course.
Sure.
Like, that's just the problem. I think what happens is that people they intellectualize it too much, and they try to overthink it, and then they don't just follow their heart, and that's really what the music is. It's not, you don't think about your influences, you just let them guide you.
Absolutely. Dude, it's funny you say that, and that line, what you just said, it reminds me of a line I wrote in this track, and I think I just found another home for it. I don't know if you do this, by the way. I take a lot of my TikTok verses and then chop them up and make songs out of them, because I found that was like one of the best things I could do with all this shit that I was writing.
I've noticed that you do that, and I always wondered. So I'm glad I just got a peek behind the curtain, because I've heard him and I've been like, wait a minute, like, is he repurposing? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah,
did these come from songs, and did he turn them into TikTok? That's what I thought it was.
Man, it's like, it's really cool. Generally, I operate under the assumption that people won't pick that apart, but like,
most people won't. And the thing is, you're smarter than me, because I've written so many TikTok verses that just sit there. They just sit there for free,
and that's
with
the
nothing
thing.
to do with them.
Well, and that's why I started doing it, is because I was writing, and what the thing that I got the most was, people would comment and they'd be like, I love your TikTok verses, I don't like your recorded music as much. Like, why isn't your recorded music hitting as much as these? And it's because there was a lag, because during 2020, when I started taking Shamothy more seriously, I started pumping out songs that I was like, all right, I'm gonna like drop this, and like I'm gonna get ahead of it, and I'm gonna always have a song in the queue, which is like good to have. But like, when that's all you have, when you only have one in the chamber, you're like on a backlog of it. And then I got really into writing verses, so I was writing 2-3 verses a day. And eventually I was just like, I had all these songs backed up. And so I was like writing these cool ass verses and hitting on these like new ideas, but then putting out a song from like 7 months ago, So it was like, and my style wasn't, like you were saying earlier, like when you're new, you're not really trying to break that. You're not trying to break out of your sound. You're just like, I need to write consistently. And so like my style was changing and I was putting out these old tracks and I was like, I gotta start incorporating these verses that are just like, embodying the new style that that I guess I'm like hitting on, because I didn't even know it was happening. I was just writing verses and people were like, yo, this shit's good. And I was like, is it? I should record it, I guess.
That's yeah, because see, I've just always been blessed with that, is how I think about it. That I've recognized my own distinction and the fact that I know what I write will be different. Like I've just had that confidence. But that is something that if you have that, you're so far ahead of the competition because you already have that thing that makes you stand out. Like what so many people struggle to have is their own sound and their own voice and their own. So even if it sounds like weird to somebody, that weirdness could be that individual quality that makes you stand out and makes you the person that people recognize. Yeah. And that's the thing that matters the most. Do they recognize you? Do they remember you?
Yeah, dude. I was going to say, just before I don't lose it, the line that made me think about what you had said was, I have a line in a song that says, yeah, I heard that before, but I spit words back and forth. How many OG combos do you think the world has in store? Like, it was like very much of, or give into the moment and stop over analyzing rhymes was like a part of the thought process. But it's because of people that I saw in comments that were like, this isn't original. I've heard this, I've heard that, like just hating ass shit. And I was just like, yeah, stop analyzing it, dog. Like, there are people who get millions and millions of plays and they're just making club music. You know what I mean? Like, why can't I just like have a verse where I'm like talking about some random shit, and like that. I feel like when people are like, you're a wordy rapper, you're like a conscious rapper, so I'm like, they like say that as if it's a diss, and I'm like, I'm sorry that like I just don't make the music you want to dance to, like but that's not like, that's not the point, at least for me it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the thing that I remind myself of, right, is that what we are exposed to is this miniature version. Like, if we're talking about what is popular, like that really, that's a small version of that's not what is successful, per se, because you could be a successful artist with a small fan base. You just need people who care enough about your music. And I think that's where that distinction and that difference really matter the most. Yeah. Because if you're somebody who's out there and you really are doing something different, if somebody really sees that and they support you, as long as you keep yourself in front of that person and you give them an opportunity to support you and you give that to enough people, you could be just as successful as the guy that's 10, 100 times more popular than you. Facts. And to me, that's why it doesn't ultimately even matter. That's why like commercial value is something that you shouldn't necessarily seek unless you're like a script writer that's trying to make it in Hollywood. Like you're an actor. Like these are reasons you need commercial value. As an artist nowadays, like you're working individually most of the time anyways. So I've always thought of it as this too, where it's like, if you don't like what I do, odds are I'm doing something right, because that's the only things that are ever valuable in art and in the creative realm are things that are controversial, that do spark interest on both sides. Like I should be saying something that or I should be rapping in a style that some people don't like and some people do. I'll say it again. Kendrick rapped in a SpongeBob voice. You think there weren't people out there going, oh my God, this is straight trash. And then there's other people vibing to that shit because it's such a bold move.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, look, and that's what I was going to say earlier. It's like when you're like, I don't mean to cite him a bunch, but I was like, bro, do it. Because he's the GOAT. He's so goated. Like, he is 100%. Like, when people are like top 5, I was like, I don't know, but Kendrick's up there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like undisputed for me.
I just think Kendrick is the perfect example of everything a rapper needs to be. Like, he's not flashy and he's not anything in any which direction. He's just a well-rounded artist. in general. And then like, and you can see where a lot of particular influences come from. Like there's so much Wayne in him. Like Lil Wayne's another rapper that I would say, like, if you wanted to study the art of hip hop and just like the things that hip hop can do, Lil Wayne is a great example because he can just bend everything with one-liners. His thing is like his one-liners will fucking just steamroll you for a whole 3 minutes on like almost every single one of his songs, and it's just you can't touch that. Like, that's one of those things that you can't touch.
Yeah, like it's like the crazy thing about Wayne is like, you know, like there'll be some like when rappers pop off, like they'll have like the album that is like popping right now, and then you might go and check and be like, oh, they've put out like 2 records before that. I'm gonna go listen to some of their old underground shit or whatever. Lil Wayne was writing his underground records in the limelight, and that shit was amazing, dude. Like that shit was like he was writing like I don't know, he's like I'm just gonna put this shit together. This is the Carter, whatever. Like we'll put it out. What the fuck, dude? Like you know, like you can't.
I'm pretty convinced that he's like, one of those people that was 35 at 16.
Yeah. Do you see that like interview where he's just like, yeah, you know, my mom pulled me out of school. She's like, you're not going to school no more. I was like, crazy, bro. I was like, to be like, you're 17, you just dropped like the hardest fucking record ever. I was like, when I was 17, dude, I would tell people, I would like, I'm playing a show at a bar downtown, and they're like, that's too far. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, you're right. And I was like, whatever. And this dude's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I mean, I just wrote this record and like, it's about my life. I'm like, yeah, that's going to win a Grammy for sure. That's like, but I don't know. And I just didn't see like that. I didn't know about any of that shit. And I remember my wife telling me, she's like, you never heard this Lil Wayne song from like 2008? I was like, nah, dude, I was sad 2000. I was playing breakdowns and shit. So like, I didn't know Lil Wayne was like absolutely changing the game until like later on. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like I always thought Lil Wayne was like mad annoying because I had only seen him in like fucking, what is that? In 2009, Forever came out. And I was like, first of all, why is Jimmy rapping? Second of all, is that Lil Wayne? And then third of all is like, Eminem's still here. That's crazy. And that was like my only thing with like rap in 2000. I was like, whatever, that's a crazy song. And then later on I was like, yo, Lil Wayne's he's a fucking genius.
Did you ever hear I don't know if it's Hanley or Hanley, but Framing Hanley's cover of Lollipop?
Yeah.
There was a rock band that did a cover of Lollipop. That was one of my first exposures to Lil Wayne. I actually heard their cover before I even heard the Lil Wayne version.
I love
and that song always confused me because it's like to me, that song, even now, it's kind of an anomaly of a song. Like, you couldn't drop that today and have people call that fire. It's not, it's such a 2008, like, mid-thousands song. And I love that era of hip-hop.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm trying to, how does it go?
I keep thinking of the wrong...
Like, burp. I told that ass jump like derp. So said you know I'm getting doozy with you. I just can't remember the fucking. I guess.
Dude, like.
Don't come and do it for you. But it's like, to me, that is not a sexy way to say all of that. That's why the song perplexed me. That is not the sexiest way. Like, you could have said all that stuff in a smooth way, and instead he's like, she licked me like a lollipop. Shawty wanna fuck. Bottles in a club. Like, bro.
He got out of it.
But that's the shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's the shit. That, it just blows my mind every time I listen to that song. Because I've thought, like, how does he do it? If I tried to rap that the same exact way, I couldn't pull that off. Lil Wayne was on a whole different planet. When he said he's not a human being, he meant it.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, and you know, it's... Oh, what's that? Oh, ladybug on my wall. Get out of here. Oh,
come on. They're not doing anything wrong.
No, he's chilling. He's on the sound blanket. He's like, it's just soft up here, dog.
Yeah, he's having a good time, man.
Now man, did you, not to like throw a wrench, but like, did you listen to the latest? Do you like Kid Cudi at all? Like,
so I never got too into Kid Cudi other than his earlier stuff. Like I listened to him back when Day and Night and I want to say it was that Man on the Moon.
Oh,
that was the album. That album's fantastic
classic.
all the way through. I mean, just classic.
I will say,
yes.
I would say so the only hip hop I really like listened to that peaked over throughout my life was like, you know, I'd hear every Eminem hit that was on the radio. But then, like, Day and Night came out, and I got really into Kid Cudi before I got into any other rappers. So I was like, there was like my whole junior year, I would say I got into, like, Kid Cudi, and I would just be like, yo, Man on the Moon. Like, and then my older brother was like, you listen to rap now? I was like, I was like, bro, this is deeper than rap. You should listen. And it was
Hold on, I got a piece so bad. I hate to interrupt your story.
You're good,
well,
I'm
gonna put a tab right where you said. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Oh, you listen to rap now?
Yeah, he was like, oh, you listen to rap now? That's crazy. And I was like, bro, it's not even like that. It's
this is bigger than rap.
Yeah, I was like, this is deeper than that, bro. It's like the long for, you know, that whole album has these like, I think it's Common. It's either Common or it's Cudi, but like he's doing these little narrations throughout the whole album, and it always made me think of like, I was like, damn, Cudi came out swinging. Like, that's his first record, Man on the Moon. He has this whole thing, and like, I listened to the latest record he put out, and I was just, and it's a DJ Drama collab, so you know he's just like shouting all up and down that record, which is such a vibe. But I was like, man, I was like so into the first one. I just, you know, like, but he was like, I guess still trying to do like Man on the Moon stuff on this record. And I was like, I don't know, man. I just kind of lost it. But it was the whole thing with that, why I brought it up was because we had said something earlier. I can't remember what peaked it, but it was like, your influences peeking through in your music now. And I feel like definitely Kendrick, you know, like when you talk about like what every rapper needs, and like, because he like commits to, you know, and Lil Wayne and Lollipop commits to the bit and like the voice and the vibe of what's happening. And Cudi, I think, did a really good job of implanting that shit. Because now I think that like influentially, I think of like early Cudi, Gambino, Logic even, and I don't really listen to Logic like that anymore, but I do, and like to an extent Lil Dicky, because it was like 2014, and that when I like really started writing raps initially. So sometimes I feel like I'll write whole verses for like videos or tracks and scrap them because I'll just be like, nah, that literally is a Cudi verse, or like that's too much in this direction or something like that, you know. So
that's funny. I don't even care. I'm like, all right, I'm dropping a Cudi verse. Yeah. Fuck it.
Facts. That's also a vibe.
I just accept it. Yeah, because the thing is, like, I don't even like. I actually am honored if if someone says, "Oh my God, that sounds just like Kid Cudi." I'm like, yeah, damn straight.
You're absolutely yeah. No, I mean, I've definitely thrown some extra hums here and there in some of these later tracks because I'm like, let's just like do the Cudi shit on this one. And
I guess Cudi's kind of tough because he's so distinguishable.
It's
with
very
the hums, right?
yeah. Like people, and it's so crazy because like. I think this is just me being selfish a lot of the times, but people tell me that I should sing more. They're like, man, because in Accept It, I play bass, but I also sing a lot in that band. But it's like emo vocals, so it's not the same Shamothy tonality and stuff like that. But like a lot of my friends are like, man, I wish you sang more in Shamothy, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I really just be trying to rap. Like I was like, I'm just trying to like. You know, not do that. I was like, I'm not a singer per se.
It's yeah. And the thing is, like, I struggled with that until I was in a band, and then I realized, oh, okay, so that's because I was only writing music. I kind of went backwards. I from what you did. I rapped and then I joined a band.
Nice.
And then I kept rapping. So like for me, the band thing just kind of taught me this whole, like I did the same.
Yeah, it was
kind of like what you said, where I'm tapping into that same creative process. Like it's all still that same area, but I'm pulling something out of it that's different just because of the context of the situation. So
absolutely,
it was just it was so enlightening. And now, and it taught me about like writing hooks even, because I realized, oh, so when I write my hooks, I don't necessarily have to always do the rap thing. I can kind of switch it up and do different things. And that's contributed to a lot of my best hooks, in my opinion. Yeah, just sprinkling in a little bit of that. Like, don't treat everything like it's a rap song per se, but treat it like it's a song. Yeah, just a song. Because a song can be anything. And when you kind of box yourself in and think I'm a rapper, like I'm not even necessarily saying this to you, because you can do whatever you want. I just think like in general, like that's where that real creative sauce comes from. Like even with the style you rap in, like if you're not trying to rap, but you kind of write your rap as like a sing-songy type of rap. You might like, it's just different things you do with your voice. It's all that, like embracing the fact that it's more than rap. Because I don't even think about genre when I'm writing, really. And it taught, like being in the band taught me that. I was like, oh, I'm just writing music. It's just music. It's not anything more than that. It's not rap music. It's not rock music. It's music.
I'd say that's like, I started messing with I'm trying to add a live band into the live show. And that has been way more taxing on my vocal cords, because it did become more important to where I was like, these are the same songs that I like just plug my computer in to some speakers and like rap over these 808s like at these shows. But when you add a live band to it, it's like, oh, what genre is this? I was like, it's just, I don't know. It's chill. Then it's not. It's like, it's rock. I was like, I'm singing more, but I'm still rapping. And it's like, it's the same song though, you know? So it's like, I love that idea of like, it is all still music, but like it can take such a different form, you know, just depending on what kind of energy you want to put around it. Oh my God, please don't fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to call it alternative hip hop for the folks.
Yeah.
That's how they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they go, oh, okay.
That's what you load up.
Nod their head.
That's what you load up your hashtags with, and you what is it? You minimize them, swipe them off the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, as long as like, because the thing is, again, people just, as soon as they see a band, that's funny too, because there's a lot of rappers that do that are well known, that travel with bands, and in my opinion, that adds such atmosphere. I don't even see why you wouldn't do it. Like, if you have the resources. I remember I listened to the artist Watsky growing up a lot, and he started touring with a band, and his music just took on a whole different tone.
Oh yeah.
And he even would re-release them as a live album. He would do that too, which is a great touch. We're like 5 songs in. I think we got like 3 more, but we had talked about that at the last practice, where I was like, because the dude who's playing bass in the live band is my my engineer, Crispy Beats. I've recorded everything with him since like 2014. So he was like, yo, when we get these versions down, should we drop them as like a live album? I'm like, oh my, yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. So like, for sure. Yo, Watsky's crazy. That is like, Watsky was like, when I remember seeing like the viral video, of whatever the rap he did in like 2010. And I was like, Pale Kid raps fast.
Pale Kid raps fast. I was like, I have to learn this. And like, in the friend group, I was like, is anyone else going to learn this rap? And they're like, it's really weird that you want to learn this. And I was like, is it? I was like, is it? Because like, it's so interesting. And they're like, it's not interesting. And I was like, what is this? I was like, what does this mean for me? And then 5 years later,
you're like, did you guys see the goat in the video? Are you kidding?
I was like, 5 years later, I was like, guys, come to my rap show. And they're like, this makes sense. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, I see.
It all clicked. They're like, oh, that's what was wrong with him.
This kid was trying to fucking rap at us, and it doesn't make sense, dude.
To them, if it would have been clear then. I'd be like, "What? You're a rapper?
Yeah.
You're a rapper?
Dude,
you don't watch these videos. You're a rapper."
I didn't have, dude. I swear, I didn't have anybody around me that was going to lobby for that until I was like a senior in high school. And I hung out with predominantly black dudes like every day.
It's like being sick and not knowing what's wrong with you because no one knows how to spot the symptoms.
They're just like, he's fine. I'm like, bro, I don't know what's happening. Like, it was like, I remember being like, I was hanging out with like, with my friends after school in senior year, and they were like, Samir, we're going to freestyle. And I was like, I've never done that. I don't know how to do that. And they're like, nobody knows how to do it, but we're going to throw on a beat. And we try, and like.
That's great advice. That was great advice.
Dude, it was crazy. And like, even that, like, I'd never, with my friends, like, we would never throw on a beat and just like be an idiot to it. Like, we wouldn't do it because we would look too foolish, right? Everyone's like, what if I say something that blah, blah. I was like, don't say any out of pocket shit. You be fine. And like, but like the pressure of freestyling, they're like, I don't know what could happen. And I was like, man, to just be thrown into it, like kind of no pressure, no stakes. I was like, I'm still really bad at freestyling, like to this day. And I've like, but if like I can write and memorize like pretty quickly. So, but yeah, like that kind of mentality of like, just dive in. I was like, oh shit, maybe I like rap a little bit more than I thought I did, That was like kind of the first nudge that I got back in the day.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's hard to, for me, I pinpointed it early on just because I heard Eminem. I was one of those kids that heard Eminem early on and went, whoa, yeah. That's what words can do. And it just blew my mind.
Did you also were you also like memorizing Eminem songs? Like while you were like, dog, like what did he just do? What rhythm was that? I have to like learn how he did that.
So what perplexed me, what blew my mind, what constantly just like hypnotized me about hip hop back then was that you could hear the same song so many times and get the punchline 30 times in. And Eminem was a master at that, where you hear the same song over and over, but you're like, oh, these words in this bar are all connected and it's all following a theme that he put in place at the beginning. But I didn't even notice that before because I was just focusing on everything he said, literally. Yeah. I didn't notice the things he was doing within the skeleton framework of the fucking rap. Like, he's such a genius because he's such a nerd.
Yeah.
He's a nerd when it comes to hip hop, and he appreciates that. So when he's approaching it, and to me, I realized all that all at once at this ripe young age of 7, 8 years old. I'm like, oh my God. Not only that, he's talking about smoking crack.
Yeah.
So he's taking all of this super duper like lyrical intricate shit and using that to talk about smoking crack.
And you're just like, you're over here as like a 7-year-old. You're just like, it feels so empty without me. And you're like, why? What feels that? What are you talking about? Like, yeah, dude. I remember listening to like Cleaning Out My Closet when that shit came on, and my older brother, of course, would walk past. He'd be like, "Oh, that's a good track," and then I would be like singing it. My mom would walk by. She'd be like, "What the fuck, bro?" I was like, "Mom, it's just rap," and she's like, "That is rap," So like, rap literally got like a bad reputation in our house. So like, I feel like there was also this like weird, I'll buy you these like screamo records about like having, people that come from broken families and like rapping about it with breakdowns. But if they're rapping about it, nah. I was like, oh, okay.
It's kind of like the Satanic Panic or anything where people just irrationally hate something and because they associate it with evil. Like video games are violent and that causes violence. It's those types of things.
And it was scary, dog. It was like 99, 2000, like pop music was popping, fucking like NSYNC, Britney Spears. Like it was a wild time. And then to just be like, I have all these angry rap songs I want to listen to, and my parents are like, and like we've lived in Tennessee like my whole life. So around 2001, when like literally 2 albums came out very close together that I think about all the time is Toxicity by System of a Down and The Eminem Show. Those 2 records came out so close to 9/11, and then I started experiencing a lot of racism here in the South around that time. And those were like the 2 records I was listening to the most at the time. And people would be like, of course you're listening to like these Iranian terrorists and like and the angry white rapper who wants to take down America. And I was like, guys, these are like 2 goated records. Like, despite when they came out and like how much of a political stance they take, like the records are fire, you know?
Oh yeah, like, you can't hate on those records, especially Toxicity. My God,
classic, bro.
My God, that's a masterpiece,
bro. I remember seeing aerials. Before school one day. I was watching TV with my grandma, and you know she lived in India for most of her, or Pakistan, and then India for like most of her life. But she came to live in Tennessee back in like '99, and then stayed for the rest of her life. We were watching TV one day, and Aerials came on, and she was like eating breakfast, and she's like, "Yo, are they Iranian?" And I was like, "Where are they from?" I was like, I was like, I think they're from Iran, or I can't remember exactly. But she's like, I like this band. And it was just, I was like, oh my God, dude. So like, for years, like anytime System of a Down came on, I'd be like, yo, grandma, you want to go see System of a Down? She'd be like, I would go see them in concert. I'm like, you're 85 years old. Like,
you're in the middle of a mosh pit.
I was like, it'd be great.
That goes to show like how transcendent artists like that are, though.
Yeah,
it's so beyond. Like it's like when someone says, "Oh, you're listening to that."
Yeah,
like you don't even understand what these people are doing here. This is bigger than metal. What they do, and the way that they that Surge and like Surge is alone, just an anomaly of a human and an artist. He's like the Kanye of metal, if you ask me.
That's a really good comparison, I think.
Because he's so unique and so distinct, you can never even get close to duplicating it. Even if you tried and you did your absolute best, you would never do what Surge would do, because Surge wouldn't do what Surge would do. Like he's so, and I think he's so him. And I think what he did back then, like, I'm not 100% on all this, and I want to do my research on System of a Down because I'd love to learn more about them. But I know that he has a lot of background when it comes to choir singing and all of that. And just when you think about that, when you listen to the way that he sang and the way that he screamed, and the way he used his voice, it was so guttural and so, like, he was using his voice as an instrument. He wasn't doing what a lot of singers do where they say the words. He was feeling the words, and like throat singing was incorporated in the screams and stuff. Dude. Like stuff like this where we're talking technical things that other metal vocalists had never even tried to put into metal music before. It just blows my mind. And that album, I think, is their peak. That's like when they hit the peak, and every single song on that album, it's just
banger.
You're hearing them sing about pogo sticks, and you're like, yeah, all right, pogo sticks.
Dude.
I'm gonna go jump on a pogo stick.
Yeah, dude. Like even like like that record, I really enjoyed the Mesmerize, Hypnotize as well. But I think that's more of a nostalgia thing for me, because I went to Pakistan in 2005. It was the only time I ever consciously remember going. And I had like a CD player, and the only record I had was Mesmerize. So I was like listening to that record constantly. But Toxicity was like absolutely the record that I was like, I have to go buy this CD. Like, this is like, and you're right, dude, like the vocals and the choices made and their harmonies.
Oh, well, that's a whole other thing. I mean, like, Serge is great by himself, but the way that they found that him and Darren, I think Darren,
yeah.
what's his last name? You remember?
Malakian or something? Malakian?
Oh, Malvakian, something like that, yeah. But Darren and him, the way that their voices combine, that's like a match made in heaven right there.
I love it.
So unconventional. It doesn't even, it shouldn't work, but it does. And you couldn't replicate it.
Dude, there's so much
and that's why you can't have System of a Down without either of those guys. You can't take either of them out of the equation.
You gotta have both of them. I think that there's so much about watching those early Surge videos or early System of a Down videos, like watching Surge on stage, that we, like, in the Jadewick live show, like, my brother's like the front man, but it's a 3-piece. It's me, him, and our friend Barrett. And we try and put on like a really crazy show, you know, but it's really just us trying to be like eccentric and like convey the emotions that we want in that 30 minutes, right? But we had a conversation where my older brother, his name's Zoe, Zoe was like, yeah, I just want to he's like, I just want to be more belligerent at shows. And I was like, yeah. And the first thing I thought of was, I was like, bro, you got like Surge. I was like, Surge is like, you got to go and watch some old shit, because like he's just so in your face about what he wants to convey. And I've tried to like take just a lot of frontman energy back into like Shamothy live shows, because like I always had like one other person performing with me in my old project. So when I started doing Shamothy shows, I was like, damn it is just me up there. I was like, I have to figure out a way to like engage people for a long amount of time. And the way that I found the easiest way for me to do it is through that Cudi influence of trying to do like a long form story during a live show. You know, I try and like piece together I've been trying to make it like a stand-up special, so we're working on our tight 30 right now. You know,
it's funny.
Yeah.
So I've thought about that too, where bands have that opportunity where they can like, it's kind of like a comedian testing their material, where like, hey, the audience got kind of bored for that 30 seconds there. Yeah. Let's just cut that part out of the song. Like, they can do the same thing that comedians do. As a rapper, it's kind of harder. You can't really cut out sections, you know. We got beats that we bought on YouTube and BeatStars. So it's not the same thing where it's like, let's throw in a drum break, unless, even if you got stems, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same type of science. But I will say that to me, performing, a whole other art. If we're talking about rap, or if we're talking about freestyling, those two things are a thing. Those are two separate things. And then you talk about performing. Oh my God. Oh my God. For the audio listeners, we just fell on the floor. But so yeah, it's a whole different thing. And when it comes to, again, I have to say, when I go on stage, I've been lucky enough to have this confidence where I just think of it like, this is my moment. I'm up here. This is my moment. So I'm going to invest 100%. I'm going to commit to the bit. This is it. This is it. Every single song I'm going to do. Because otherwise, why are they going to care? If they're here watching me, why are they going to care unless I care as much as I possibly can? And so to me, it's just always made the most sense to just go up there and give it my 100%. And that applies to when I was on stage by myself. That applies to if I had a hype man. That applies to if I was in a band, because when I'm in a band, they don't give a shit about what the rest of the band's doing unless I'm the one moving around. Like, if I'm the singer, I gotta be keeping, you gotta sell it, because otherwise, and there's so many people that miss that mark, and they'll be perfect technically, but they don't sell it. And it's like, to me, you don't even have to pander to the crowd. You just have to feel it. You just have to get into the music and show that you're into it.
I think for me, like, man, you're absolutely right. Like, it is a different art form. And I feel like there are times where I feel like I'm doing a really good job at like the writing element. And then like, I was like, I had an idea for this song and we like executed it and it worked out perfectly. But then I'll fumble the promotion part of it, just I'll like start making TikToks, or like I just feel like I feel like with content, I like either am on top of it or I'm like feeling like very distant from it. And then, but when it comes to shows, like I feel like because of my upbringing and like the elements in like the places I've played shows, like that takes such a focal point for me. I was like, for me, I'm like, I know that like my catalog is like a bunch of singles, or my TikTok is like, it's a shit ton of verses and like it's not super organized or anything. But like if you come to a show, I feel like I can make it make sense to you. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm like the most comfortable when I'm just like in front of people like playing the songs. Because I feel like a lot of the times, like, I don't know if you've done it, but sometimes I'll humor myself and go into these like TikTok lives and like, they're like people who are listening to songs and shit. And I've sent my songs in a few times, and like the amount of times where people are like, yeah, it's cool, but like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, damn. And it doesn't like get under my skin, but I am like, oh shit, like, that's a note to me that what I was trying to convey is not immediately accessible to even someone who's not interested, which is fine because it was never the goal, but like it's just notes,
Yeah. I think and the other thing is too, though, like, so I think that focusing too much on making something that's going to attract a broad audience ends up becoming the downfall of creativity in general. Because if you sit there and think too much, like, oh, but a normal person wouldn't understand this, you're going to actually, what you're doing is you're dumbing down the audience in your brain. And like one of the rules of comedy that I've heard is that you have to treat the audience as if they're very intelligent, and they're going to see right through all of your jokes. They're going to see right through everything. They're going to think you're a hack. Like that's how you need to approach comedy in order to go up there and perform well. You think they're smarter than you is how you want to think about it.
That's
and
really
like
sick.
I think a lot of people think about the audience as idiots, and they write that way. They're like, oh, I have to dumb this down because nobody's gonna get it.
Yeah, dude, like it's very like, I don't know, like I don't think that's a good way to look at it. I don't know if I've necessarily thought of people as idiots, but well,
you just don't want to write for the lowest common denominator is really what I mean, right?
No,
like you don't want to be writing it so every single person can get it, because like I said before, the best shit people are gonna dislike and not get. They're just not gonna get it, and that's fine. Man. It makes it more exclusive in that way.
For sure. Dude, like it took I don't know, going through being a chronically online rapper through the pandemic was very taxing on my mental while I was trying to figure out what my intentions were. I was like,
oh, believe me, I was a psychopath too.
Yeah, dude, like that's like,
I was crazy, man.
This is so crazy, dude. Like it was such a weird pocket of time to live in, because I full on, so my old rap project, we played our last show, and I don't know what happened because none of our shows were like huge, right? We existed for 5 years. I put out, I don't know, 7 records. I think 5 of the songs are good type shit, and then we were playing this final show and dropping a music video on the day of, and it was a massive show. Like there was like 200 people at the show. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like nobody gives a shit about us. Like, why is this happening? And then and then my little brother like moved to New York. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm done with that. And then 6 months later, COVID starts. And then I downloaded TikTok like a week after COVID started. And I didn't post my first video for like 6 months. But like right before I posted the first video, I was like, I have to delete this app. I was like, I either have to delete this app or I have to start posting on it because I'm spending too much time on here. And what I was doing was watching these other open verse challenges, and I was like, I can do that. I was like, why the fuck am I not doing that? Because I'm going crazy. I'm literally going to work and going home. Like, I should also be just writing raps. And then I just posted on TikTok for like 2 months and got like literally maybe 3 positive comments. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna start rapping for real in 2021. Like it took like one nudge and I was like, yeah. But then I spent like that whole year and like into 2022 just being like, what I need to write for, I need to do this beat because this guy's doing a verse on it and this was that, you know, like there was so many random details of shit that like don't matter, you know? And now I feel like it's kind of calmed down, but like, yeah, those 2 years were like insane to be like, you're like, am I trying to blow up and go viral or am I trying to like actually figure out what kind of music I'm trying to write, if I'm trying to write it?
Yeah, and I really think that like if you wanted to go viral and blow up, it's way better to do the latter first, because otherwise, what do you have to coast on once you have that audience that you wanted? Like,
Yeah.
everybody's got it backwards nowadays. It's like kids nowadays will post to go viral, but they don't know what they want to go viral for. Like if you ask them, so what do you want an audience for? They'll be like, I don't know. I just want an audience. I want to go viral. Like that's why they post.
Dude.
They don't even have the objective.
I have like, yeah, dude, I have so many friends who are like, why aren't you on Twitch? And like, and I've thought about it. I've been like, oh, I could do that. But like, all of the people that are saying that are like, don't you want like this massive audience? Don't you want like, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if that's like, I was like, because I don't want to get on Twitch and like, I enjoy watching it, but like, I'm not a streamer per se. Going on TikTok live is always weird for me. I literally only get on TikTok live to practice. Like, I'll just like, I was like, I'm gonna go through my set anyway. I might as well turn on the camera because if there's even a slight pressure that one person is watching me, I have to perform. I'm not just alone in my room anymore. That's like, but I never actually like get on TikTok live to be like, I don't know, probably helpful for my career. I just like get on because I'm like, I'm just like, I'm rapping, so I should probably capture this or something. And I don't know, man, like that is such a, like getting on Twitch to me seems like, I was like, what am I going to be doing? Like just random. I was like, then I'm just like a content creator. And I feel like I do like the distinction between full-on content creator or musician. And like, I will always take the musician route as opposed to like, no, your job is to like make videos and shit. And I'm like, I understand that's part of it, but I'm still always going to focus on the music first, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a song, I wish I knew who said it, but they said they want to be a content creator, not a content creator. And I thought that is
I do love that.
Such a beautiful way to put it.
And they phrased it like Jay-Z, which is, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman, which is one of my favorites.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
It's like, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Let me handle my business. Damn. I was like, yeah. And
see, that's like, again, the genius of rap and poetry and just all that coming together is like, you couldn't even, you had to be there. You had to be there. All right.
Yeah.
It's genius. But yeah, the whole idea of like, see what I've just been falling in and out of it. I can't hate on social media because social media has provided so much value when it comes to me getting where I'm at today and the audience I have today. A lot of my most intimate people that I could name when it comes to who has consumed my content, they're people that I've met through TikTok Live, just sitting there doing that robot stuff that we're talking about, where I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Welcome to the chat, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just talking back to the comments, sitting here by myself. But it really is a genuine thing that I have a love-hate relationship, because on that side of it, I love it. But at the same time, I loathe making content surrounding my art because I don't actually want to do it. And I think I'm good at it. I think I can make quality content, but I just hate doing it.
I will say, I think you are great at it, dude. You like, cause like, I will say like every single time, you know, and you know how the algorithm is like, but there was like these pockets like where every time I opened the app, it was, it was your, I think it was Rummage, where you're like, stuck
up in it, my village, I stall still for days.
Dude, every day I was like, it's the same verse, different location. I was like, holy shit, this is a different video. It's like, this dude's out here, that is like such the way to do it. And, what's his face? Chandler Matkins.
Yeah.
So I did a show with him a few months ago, and he was telling me I was talking to him about content. I was like, man, you're really good at content and you know, that whole side of it. What'd you do? And he was just like, I mean, he's like, he's like, he's like, there's a time and place for open verses. He's like, but I'm just on here to promote my music. And I was like, I suppose you're right. I suppose I do spend a lot of, like, anytime I do an open verse or a duet, like, I was looking at it as, like, this is potentially going to end up in a song one day. But I was like, that, like, his content and your content are always, I'm like, damn, these guys are out here just, like, pushing their fucking songs. And, like, I should be... It's like, I'll do that. I'll like post.
You can do both.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the thing. I was like, I struggle with doing both a lot. Is like, I'll get on a grind of promoting my own songs. And then I'll be like, oh man, I should like write another. Or like, there's this popular open verse challenge that's going around. I should like throw something in for that. And like, you know, like, I'm just trying to find a balance in it. You know, I just feel like.
So, dude.
Yeah.
My problem is I've written open verse challenge verses that are some of my best verses of all time. And I listen to them and I'm like, God damn it. Because I can't throw that on a different beat. I can't do anything else. I've even messaged the people. I've been like, hey, can we do something with this? Because it's so good. It belongs as a song. People comment on my fucking open verse challenges. They're like, is this a song? Like, they think it's a song.
Bro, that spit that shit that make your mouth double.
Oh, dude.
That shit. That's like, but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though, because like, what's that producer Zepp or Z or whatever, like,
What's up? Yeah.
What's up, dude? Like, absolutely same. I had one that I did with him where I was like, man, this beat is fucking great, and like, but when you play that game, it's very much like, oh, now I have to wait. Or it wasn't one with him, but it was with the first TikTok I ever posted that went dumb viral was like with boy.
Was it the Alex girl? Or was it those songs?
No, that was like a week after.
Sad
which
Alex.
Was, yeah,
Sad Alex.
That was like a week after, which like blew my mind because that one went more viral than the first one. But the first one was with Boy Deco or Joey Briggs, and it was it was like a very lo-fi and I'm just like, off topic, but I've been writing a song lately that I don't think you would like.
Right. You're sitting in the car seat,
yeah.
Right.
And that was my whole thing is I would record TikToks while I was on break at work. And I got off work early that day. I spent an hour in my car writing this fucking very like like crazy rhythms and like all of that over this lo-fi beat. And I got so mad that I was like, whatever, dude, I'm just gonna like turn it on and like talk. And like I posted it, and that one went stupid viral. It was the first video of mine that ever got like 100,000 or any of crazy amount of views. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And every comment was like, record this, like put it out, bottle. And I'd never experienced that sort of virality. And I was just like, oh, maybe this is how that happens. Maybe I should hit this guy up and it'll be easy. And I hit him up and he was like, no, And I was like, wait, what do you, it's so good. He's like, no, dude, he's like, I appreciate it. And like the video's good, but like I'm using it for something, so you can't have it. And I was like, oh, okay. What the fuck do I do now? I was like, now I just have this.
Nothing. The answer is nothing, unless you want to go against his wishes and release it and say, sue me, bitch.
Nah, dude. So I mean, what we're doing, that was what, summer of 2021. I did that video. I'm putting that song out in like a month or two, probably 2 months. And it's over a different beat and it sounds different. And I wrote a hook for it and expanded on it. But it took me a year of like getting over that to want to do that. Like I was like, nah, it's got to be this. It's got to be like this audio, his beat, like not going to compromise. And eventually I was like, well, shit, dude. And then like I like reposted the video years later and he was like, we should like record this. And I was like, I'm not going to start with you, bro. Like I'm not going to like, don't backtrack now because like whatever project didn't work. I was like, but that concept was, that's why I got into reusing old TikToks for songs, is because I was like, I had a conversation with my brother where I was like, man, I'm writing all this good shit and I just like, I feel like I can't use it. And he's like, why? He's like, just like put it out on like they're your songs. You still wrote them. Like it's not like, he's like, yeah, people saw it and it went viral on that, but like, if that's not what it comes out with, then you can always explain it or you can not. It doesn't matter. Like, you can just put it out because, like, if you spent 3 years writing 400 verses and then you're like, now I need to sit down and write a 5-track EP, let me start from scratch. You're like, why? Because, like, I've already written 8 bars of 20 different songs. So, and the way that my mind works is I will find that like I'd write 8 verses over the course of a week and I'm talking about the same thing in a lot of them, so it's like, it's easier for me to string along random verses like that, and craft songs out of them. But
see, it's a tough one though, because I feel like my problem is I can do that. I can repurpose verses, but I only do it when it feels spiritually correct.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to feel like I'm reaching into the bucket and pulling out a verse, Yeah. I don't want to feel like, oh, I don't really want to write today. Let me just grab a verse from the verse pool that I have generated from 2 years of TikToks. Because the thing is, I have enough. I could do it.
Yeah.
But like with the Dagnabbit thing, that was so frustrating because I'm jealous that you even got a response. I didn't get closure. I messaged him on multiple different things. I was just like, hey man, can we make this work? Because I knew if that song would have dropped, my listeners would have I would be over 10K. I'd probably be over 50K by now.
Yeah.
That song was the key. It was the key to success for me. If I would have just capitalized, and I was ready.
Yeah.
I was so ready to capitalize. I'm like, oh, people dig this? Oh, okay, I'll just drop it. But like you said, that's not
it's not
not how it works.
You should,
and like I even considered for so long, should I just drop it anyway? Is he really gonna care? Should I just drop it anyway?
Yeah,
and
like
ultimately I never did.
It's like it's a thought I had before where I'm like, man, like if you're at the point where you're not getting responses, they're either like real big, like real busy. They're like, well, like I don't even know that he was messaging me, or they're like, no, go ahead, release it, and then I'll sue you. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
No. Here's the thing. It contributes to the mind games. He commented fire on one of the videos once. He commented fire. So he saw it, and he commented. Yeah. He knows it exists. And you must have seen my Instagram message, bro. You must have.
Yeah, that's upsetting. That's upsetting.
I had people they were messaging and they were tagging him in the comments. And again, I don't care. He has no obligation to me. Right. I don't really. It just sucks because
would have been dope.
It would have been dope, and I'm not gonna find a different beat for that. Like there's something about that. It was what he did that inspired me to rap that way, and it was that inspiration that created that piece of art, and like that's what made it so influential. If I were to if I were to recreate the beat, it just wouldn't be the same. I'd be trying to do some 90s boom bappy thing like he did.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have the same.
I feel like it would,
couldn't be.
I feel like it would kind of go back to what you were saying earlier, where like you could recreate the beat, but literally if it doesn't sound not even exactly like it, but if it's not hitting that pocket for you, you might hit the vocals different. So you could even approach it with the same verse, but you might say it, you might attack it differently because your beat is not hitting the exact same way his was. So it's
yes.
To not compromise like what that verse is, you just didn't put it out, and I respect that. That's like, I mean, I was like,
dude, that verse was magic.
Yeah.
Like when I recorded that, I remember I recorded one take. I was like, and then I recorded the second take. That is just a one take, boom. Like it's the second take I did. Dude, I was like, yeah, that's definitely it.
Verse is
definitely it.
Verse is good. Video's good. Like you got the spinning and shit. Like, yeah, dude, it was a moment. I remember seeing that shit, and I saw like, you know, like I saw you like reposting a few times. I was like, man, I hope this happens. But like, I know how it is,
There's
man.
still
like,
people to this day that comment, oh, bro, drop Dagnabbit. Yeah. It's just not. It's not in the cards, folks. It can't happen.
I was gonna say, I was like, to that end of like reaching in a bucket for verses, I definitely feel you on that, because that's like when I started doing that, like dabbling into like repurposing verses like that, I was like, I don't want it to feel like that either, right? You know, but for example, the track that we put out, Contraceptive, that verse was, let's see, I've been struggling, fuck 'em damn, about a new bottle of bubble. I wrote that a few months before, right? So I had that verse, and then last year in March, my wife had lost her mother. So we had, like, it was a very dark moment for our family and stuff. And I remember one of the first things that I wrote when I started writing again, it was like a few weeks later, something like that. And I had like just turned on this beat and started freestyling to it, and it was just like, a lot of it wasn't coherent, but it was a lot of raw emotion into, you know, and a lot of cool melodies came out of it. And some of that stuff ended up coming back into the contraceptive verse in the back half, which led me to write the rest of it for this track. So it's like, even though that was spaced out over like 8 months, like I feel like there is like part in the editing process where you're just like, okay, yes, this is like, the bones of this are old, but emotionally I feel like everything still resonates. You know what I mean? And I think that's really what it is like, if it like, when you were like, unless you feel like spiritually drawn to do so, I definitely agree with that. Like, I feel like there was something about, you know, like when you sent the beat and then the subject matter and your delivery, I was like, this verse and the subject matter is like one of my favorite lines, I think, was the, goddamn, feels like I've been tired for 5 years, depression taking up space, this ain't been a light year. I was like, that might be the most fucking hip hop line in my whole verse, and that was one of like the later lines in it, you know. So it's like, I don't know, like, to me, I've always been like very interested to see where, you know, when you write it, you're like, where will this end up? Because like, there's like some verses, there's like a song that's coming out. The next song I'm putting out is like a song I started writing in the summer of last year, and I finished it like on New Year's. So it's like, yeah, whatever makes it up to like Spotify or Apple Music is always like a coin toss, really, for me. So, but I think that's just how my brain works. So,
well, no, that's fair. I mean, you don't want to oversaturate it. I quality over quantity. But at the same time, I would urge most artists to put out as much as is reasonably possible, right? Because if you're not putting it out, you don't exist.
Absolutely.
It's just, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody sees it fall, did it fall at all?
Yeah.
If you write 30 songs and you never released one of them on a streaming platform where somebody can easily go listen to it, and then, you know, you're dropping your phone, you're all over the place, and you're not dropping songs, then what does that all mean? And so, like, to me, that's the tragedy of it all. And there's it also goes to that principle of, like, the greatest rapper in the world is some guy in some basement somewhere that nobody's ever heard of. Like,
exactly.
It's not about talent per se. It's about the ability. And that's why I, just to bring it back around to that whole content marketing thing, that's why I've always struggled with that, because I know it's not ultimately about how good my music is. It's about figuring out a way for people to easily find that. Yeah. And that's why I love things like this podcast and collaborative efforts, because I've learned that that's like such a easy way for people to have an avenue into you. And it's difficult. It's so difficult because I'm not I'm not a salesman. I'm an artist. Yeah. And so when I approach the market, I have no clue how to really navigate like a snake is supposed to. I'm more like a rabbit. I'm hopping around.
I'm just here, bro. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's a really good point. I feel like this is a much easier way to, you know, like they always say with content, they're like, show your authentic self, you know, just like get on camera and start talking. And I'm like, you can't do that. I was like, you know, like you can't like,
you can be a version of yourself.
Exactly. I was like, bro, look, there's like, I dread to think that, like, you know, like my content on TikTok, and I guess through that, I think Instagram is a little different for me because I know I had like 200 followers on Instagram for like 5 years. And then in the last few years, I think we've gotten up to like, we're so close to 1,000, but like, it's like 990 something. And I was like, I know that like the first 35 people that see this are all just like people in Memphis that I still somewhat see on like a regular basis. So it's like, but on TikTok, I'm like, I finish a video, post it, and I'm like, that's into the void for me a lot of the times, you know, like, so when I would be really big on like posting and you're not turning off the phone, but like getting off the app, and like, I would go to work and not check my phone until halfway through work. So if a video was going really well, I would be like, you know, a massive dopamine rush after lunch, you know, at 1 p.m. I'm just like, oh my God, my fucking video is going viral. But like most of the time it was like I open it after the lunch rush and I'm like, all right, I got 20 likes. We're chilling, you know, it's a good day. So, but yeah, man, like that is.
And you get into that chase though, like that's the thing. You end up falling into this pattern of like, oh, well, I gotta post today. Oh, was the video viral today? Maybe tomorrow. And then like,
maybe I'll switch up the hashtags. Like I'll switch them up.
Yeah.
You know?
Like what the fuck did I do wrong this time? So what frustrates me so much about that is it's like a game that they don't ever make the rules clear, and they also change the rules all the time.
Oh yeah.
So like, as the player of the game's not fun because I don't even know the rules.
Yeah, dude. Like I was like, one day I just posted hashtag FYP on a verse and it popped off, and then I did it the next day and they were like, wow, you're putting FYP as your hashtag? Like that never works. I was like, it worked 24 hours ago. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, but I definitely took a hard stance like earlier on where I was like, I'm going to intentionally do all of these duets on shitty wired iPhone headphones. So where like everybody knows that like I was like, I'm going to make it so real life that it's just going to feel like a person sitting next to you rapping. Because like when I started posting content with like my microphone and, you know, actually filming videos and stuff like that, like it was like, I don't know, it just, people were like, wow, like I bet the auto-tune's crazy, or like, I bet he doesn't, like, he did like 12 takes. And I was like, bitch, no, like, I just did 3 years of like all of these verses in one fucking take. I mean, it took me 40 takes, but like, it looks like it's one take, you know, like, so like, that's like, some of these verses, dude, I was pissed. Like, so like the final video that makes it up, like, I remember there's this one beat by DJ Intense. I duetted one of his videos, and I was up here in this room for like 2 hours trying to like just get a good take of the video. And it was very like, because I was like, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to cut the camera. I memorized all the lyrics. So like, yeah, it was rough. You know, you put yourself through shit just to like, and then that video, I think, like, I don't know, 150 views, like, no, like, it like was not worth the trouble. But to me, I was like, nah, that's a feat. I was like, if anybody watches that video and they're like, oh wow, it's not as viral as it should be, it's like, it's okay, because like, I'm going ham on a boom bap beat, like, so you can appreciate it for what it is, or you can keep scrolling, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned the best takeaway from all that lack of success, one could call it that, in that department, right? It's like, oh, I put all this effort into this video and it didn't go anywhere. But some of the best advice I've heard somebody like Mr. Beast give is to make 100 videos before you even expect one of your videos to be good. And that just, it's the idea of improving your content and the idea of making your stuff better. And that goes for the video and the music and all of it. When I first started making music, I thought I was the best rapper ever.
Yeah.
And today, I think I'm the best rapper ever. But if I compare what I made then to what I made now, it's such a world of a difference. And that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, right? Yeah. We jumped to the middle of that 5 years ago. Still so much of a difference. And so it's like allowing yourself to look at your own content and what you're making and think, okay, well, what could I have done differently? But also, not even that, but just learning from each time you do it. Like putting in that effort of, oh, I liked how that looked when I set the camera there. Like if you never even recorded the video, how the hell do you know what the best angles are? How do you know what works the best? You've never done it. So you can't establish a formula. That's the thing too about making content is so many people figure something out. They're like, oh, that went viral, I'm just gonna do that over and over.
Right.
And what happens is you fall into this pattern. Now you're the guy that makes the video, and you're not the guy who raps. You're the guy that does that one thing because you always film the video the same way. And so like there's I just think experimenting and just challenging yourself creatively and just trying to to use that platform as a creative outlet. That's the best way to do it. Not to like look at it as, oh, I don't want to make these fucking videos. I don't want to do it. But like to think, oh, how can I put my own touch on this to where people are going to feel my art through the video even. And like, and also just continuing to do it because I don't know. It's hard to make videos over and over and over again for music as a solo artist because, dude, so the TikTok challenges taught me at least two. It was challenge. That's why I wanted to say it. It was practice for writing because when I was doing those open verse challenges, I was kind of just throwing verses away, but I got so much practice in. Like it was just like an exercise every time, and I would give it my all. So it's not like this is half-ass practice. It's like these are genuinely from the bottom of my soul, like verses. I gave it my everything. And just getting into the habit of doing that, like that's the value of doing those open verse challenges. So I've learned to like take in pride the fact that, maybe I'm not making money off this and maybe it's not going anywhere. But for one, I'm learning from it. And for another thing, if one guy sees that and he goes, whoa, this guy's dope, and they follow me, that's what it's all about. It's not about a million people seeing it. It's about that one guy that I changed his perspective. He found me. That's all that matters. I don't need to find a million people. I need to find one.
I will say, like, there are times where I, like, am in the studio and I'll, like, lay a verse down and I'll just be like, damn, I know I can think of, like, 5 dudes on TikTok that are going to love this track, you know? Like, and that's always really, so whenever I, like, I put out this song at the end of 2022, and I was so stoked to like tag one of my followers in it because like she was like, "Oh, you got to make this into a full song." And I have no idea if I made it into a song that she likes, but I did make it into a full song, and I tagged her in it, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I was thinking about you the whole time I was doing that." You know what I mean? Like it's like very. I was like, I didn't make this song for one person, but like knowing that she was going to even listen to it, I was like, it's worth making. You know, like
yeah, dude. I mean, what I always tell people is, if you liked it, I wrote it for you. That's what I always say.
That's
is
good.
if you felt it, then it was for you.
Oh yeah,
because it might as well have been, right? I mean, what else is it about creating and putting that out there? Like, what are you trying to share when you make a song? And really, it's the emotion. It's like getting someone to feel something. And to me, it's just so gratifying when somebody tells me I had an effect on them at all.
Yeah,
and the other part of that, that story you just told is, once you do pop off, once you're popular and you're this super famous rapper, they're like, you know what? Back when he wasn't even that famous, he rewrote a song just for me.
Yeah,
he put out a song just for me, and it creates this thing where like you're making a genuine difference. Like Again, it's like losing sight of the bigger picture is just what most people do. It's human nature. I think making art is as simple as that. It's making art, and it's allowing people to find that art and share in the beauty of that creation. It's not anything bigger than that. It doesn't have to be. And then like people want it to be. They're like, oh yeah, but
dude,
I want to be successful and I want this and that. And they extrapolate and put all this other stuff on top of it. But it's like, no, I've always loved sitting there with a beat and writing something, been like, yes, bro, that is fucking it.
That's it.
And then I show it to somebody and I'm like, you get it? You feel it? You feel what I'm feeling right now?
Dude, like, absolutely, man. It's
capturing magic.
It is absolutely doing, you know, and it's so funny because like I'll record like demos here at my house, and like I'll be like, I'll send them to Chris and I'll be like, yo, dude, I'm coming through. We got to record this. And like sometimes I'll go in and we'll knock it out very quickly, and he'll be like, wow, yeah, that was a good take. And I was like, nah, dude, we got to do that shit again. I was like, it's literally just about like, it's not capturing that same energy, you know, because like if you're trying to like get someone to buy in, like, and like really feel that emotion, like the specific emotion you're trying to convey through a song, you're like, nah, this is how we get there, you know. And that excitement just leads to so many cool ideas a lot of the times, man. Like there have been times where I've just been like, all right, yeah, we're good, we got it, and then I'm just like in the booth for another 20 minutes doing like ad libs that have led to like random verses. And so, you know, like at the end of the day, it was just like, yeah, I went through some shit at some point. I eventually wrote a song about it, but this vessel that you're hearing it through is just like how I wanted to capture that emotion and show it to you, you know. And if you relate to it, then even better. I was like, we can have a conversation, and we can like, that's one more thing. That's one level of separation gone between two strangers, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's just it. I think what art does is it speaks to the unspeakable. It allows us to tap into that thing that makes us all human, that thing that allows us all to feel ourselves as opposed to something other than ourselves, right? Like when we're within an art piece and when we can lose ourselves within it, we're more ourselves than when we're just going about our day. I think that that's something totally beautiful, and that's why I love art, is that I can make this difference on people that I could never ever make without it. I can get people to approach reality in a way they wouldn't normally do. And I think like great storytelling, great movies, great books, great art does this. It allows you to look within yourself while looking outwards, and it's just a magical thing. And I think that being an artist, it allows me to translate my ideas that I can't normally translate. It allows me to take that unspeakable thing that I can't really put a pin in it, but for some reason, when I write a song, it all makes sense. I'm like, you know what? That is okay. Yeah, that I can accept that.
I was gonna say, I was like, I wrote a line recently on a track with Low Again, or sorry, I always say it like this, Low Again. I think his name's Logan, but either way, we put out a song.
Maybe that's the idea.
Yeah, it's like we put out a track at the end of last year, and one of the lines was, "Feeling like I'm in a dream still, and how long has it been? And why can't I not ever say the shit that's in my head to a T and make them understand that I am not the man?" That was like, for me, it was like, very similarly, I was like, I never know how to tell people, but it's not out of fear of like, I don't want to be misinterpreted. It's like, no, I literally just like sometimes am like, I know what I have an idea. I don't know how to put it into words or explain it to you. But if you give me like 6 weeks, I might be able to convey this ambivalence in a song. It's like, it's just always been like how I'm like, this song helped me process an emotion a lot of the time. It's like, I was able to figure out what, like, through the writing process, I'm able to like figure out what I was trying to say. But like, yeah, sometimes I feel like I just like can't convey shit in conversation. And I'm like, well, eventually when I'm alone with my notes app, we'll figure this out.
You just wait till tonight at 11 p.m. when I'm alone in the dark.
I'm gonna figure this shit out, and we're gonna be sad about it together when the song drops.
Yeah. See, that's the sad part about being an artist is it takes a whole lot of like depression and heartbreak and like angst and anxiety. Like you have to be somebody who questions yourself because otherwise your art's probably gonna suck. I just think I firmly believe that. Like,
dude, shout out!
Every single artist has a lot going on.
Oh my god, dude! Shout out to the people that give grace to the artists. Like the people in your life who are letting you feel your shit out, and like, I don't know, like the people who give me time to process are gems in this world. I'm just like, they're like, oh well, like we'll have a conversation about it in a few days. So I'm like, damn, I come with like, I got like a timestamp on, you know what I mean? Like it's like you know that it's gonna take me a minute. They're like, you're a sensitive guy. I was like, no, I'm not sensitive. Like,
I'm not sensitive, but thank you though. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. So you vocalizing that makes me feel really good. Yeah, so it's like it's very like, but yeah, like just like that, like people who are like, yeah, we'll talk about this eventually. I'm like, wow, shout out to you.
Yeah, because like that gets lost a lot of the time in the conversation surrounding artists, where it's like we need artists in our society, but we don't really need crazy people. But I say, Ruse says, you know what? You can't have both. You got to take the crazies with the arts, because that's just how it comes. That's what you get the best art from, is the people who are delusional. I mean, it's just true.
That sound, that like TikTok or Instagram where they were just like, what made you think you were good? It's like delusion. I was like, man, I'm losing it with that. Like that is prophetic. That's a very wise statement right there. And it's like, yeah, because like I remember like when I first broke 1,000 followers on TikTok, that like that was such a grind for like rappers who were under 1,000 followers. I feel like we were all like in the trenches together, where they were like, I'm just trying to go live. I just want to be able to go live. And I was like, yeah. I mean, they really... Oh,
they're still down there. There's still a lot of them down there. Yeah. Like lobsters in a bucket.
Dude, like, and like, shout out to anybody who's grinding right now, because like, it really is like that. Like every single video, like nowadays, like I will lose followers and gain, like whatever. I don't really pay attention to a lot of it. But the other day I noticed, I was like, damn, I lost like 300 followers. I was like, the fuck did I do? And the answer is nothing. The answer is you're not doing anything. So like, if you're not posting, they're like, okay, well, fuck this guy. And I'm like, facts. Okay, I feel that. But but when you were under 1,000, you see it. You see every person leave and come, and you're like, damn, I got to keep going. I got to. Yeah, it's like, man, that verse didn't hit.
Damn, I lost 3 followers.
Yeah, I was like, bro, this verse did not hit for these people. I have to try again. Like it was such a.
Because there's times when it was tragic, you'd lose like 24 followers at once. You'd be like, oh my God, was that really that bad?
Yeah, I'm like, bro, I thought it was a good verse, you know, like, but I remember when I started going through that, my wife was like, she's like, yo, like, are you good? Because like you're on your phone a lot and you're like, you know, a lot. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm addicted to this app and I'm trying to figure out why it bothers me so much. And it was like such a battle for that time period. And I had to really work at like, after getting 1,000 followers, I was like, okay, now you got it. What are you going to do with it? And then I went live and I was like, shit, I don't know how to go live. I've never been a turn the camera on and talk to it kind of guy, you know? So
most people aren't.
Yeah, you know, and figuring that shit out is, and people tell me all the time, and I always encourage people to post videos, right? I'm like, especially all of my like musician friends over here, once they saw that I was posting on TikTok, they were like, yo, how is TikTok? And I was like, you should use it. I was like, everyone should like, at least like at the time I was like, everybody should get on it and post your stuff. And they're like, I just don't know like if I have the confidence to like, and I get that. But like to me, I was like, I can post a video nonstop, but like going live to me was like crippling. But I could also play a live show in front of people in real life and be fine. So I was like, there's different levels of this shit going on, you know? But yeah, I remember being like, you know, my wife was like, are you good? And I was like, man, you just spend so much time on here trying to like process like why you're losing followers and why you're like this and that. And, you know, it really fucks with you at some point. But like I had to figure my way out through it, but it's good, you know, to anybody who's under 1,000. Yeah, to anybody who's under 1,000, just like if that is a goal, like do it. Just keep posting. Just keep going.
I think it's confidence. It's believing in yourself, because I think that your wife was on point when she said that, because what she's pointing to is the fact that like, are you good? Because if you're good, it doesn't matter that you lost 20 followers. It's like, oh, I shouldn't even care about this because I know I'm good. I know my music's good. So if they hear it and they like it, good. If they don't like it, whatever. Somebody will find it tomorrow that does like it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that it's not a matter of whether or not you're good or bad. It's a matter of the exposure that this arbitrary algorithm is giving you. Truly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it is for most of us. And that's like, of course, the quality of the content matters. And that's not to say it doesn't, but it's just like, you know, it's just a fact that like, for example, if you start a new TikTok account, you post 30 videos, they're all going to get 200 views. It's a fact.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Unless you get lucky for some random reason and the algorithm picks you, 200 views every video.
Yeah.
Just, you know, accept it.
Baseline.
Maybe that won't happen, but eventually maybe you'll dip down to that 200. Like, it's just, you can see that there's patterns in this algorithm. And so stuff like that, like when I consider all of that, and I also consider the reality of the world, it's like, there's no reason to get hung up on losing followers ever, or people hating on your content ever, because as long as you know what you're making is good, as long as you know your intent is pure, who cares, dude?
Yeah.
Who really cares? Like, in the end, does it matter that Mario, the 8-year-old in his basement, unfollowed you this morning? No,
exactly.
Probably not.
And that's the
the world
thing.
is still turning.
That's the thing, man. It took me a lot of figuring out, you know, what you were saying earlier when you were like, look back 10 years and then 5 years. Like, when I look back 10 years ago, you know, the stuff I'm making now is like loads better. And 5 years ago, I would have said that everything I'm about to write is going to be better than everything I have put out, which was true. But like, I've in the last 5 years switched up so many times too, as far as like, you know, like, what are my intentions and what are, you know, so it took a lot of like going through posting a lot of shit for me to be okay with that. But ultimately the last 4 years, or the last like two to 3 years, have been really fulfilling in that aspect of like, once you turn off the meter on how much you give a shit about these, again, arbitrary metrics, are like, you know, like, I think it's wild that you can post into the void and the same person comments on 2 of your videos. I'm like, win. That's a W right there, you know, like, it's like, it really has like switched up a lot of my views on it. But
because it ultimately, anything at all is a blessing. I mean, like, it is truly. I'll say too that, like, TikTok, compared to the other platforms, it's not even a competition. I mean, I have not gotten any traction on Instagram, on Facebook. I used to have success on Instagram, and then it got bought by Facebook, and it just became this dead platform. You can get lucky on there, but for the most part, it's just not what it used to be. And so with TikTok, that's where a lot of my most of my musical success has stemmed from. And so all that just to say that, like, you take the good with the bad and you just work on what you can work on, which is yourself, right? Like, that's the only thing that one could take away from any of this is, like, even though the things might seem as if, like, oh, I'm going to be doing this forever, even though it seems as if, oh, things aren't looking up right now, it's the fact that you're making a conscious effort to improve what you're doing. And, like, if you're doing what you like, then it shouldn't even matter. If you're making music that you like, if you're sharing art that you like, just keep working on that, because, you know, that's the true avenue that you're walking down. It's not the avenue to fame, it's the avenue to pursue your own interests. That's what we all really would love to do in our lives, is just live off of pursuing our own interests. So yeah, I mean, the fact that we have a chance to do that in our own way, I mean, that's the beauty of the whole opportunity. And, you know, don't get me wrong, though. F you, TikTok. Share my damn videos, okay? I'm so tired of this. I'm putting in the hours, all right? Give me my damn views. I have put in enough work.
Yeah,
all right?
dude.
I want to be elected on your damn board of directors at this point, okay? I have been working hard for you.
I would be so happy if they even just fixed the one-to-one of it, you know? Like, if you have 20,000 followers, if your videos aren't getting 20,000 views on a baseline, we have a problem. You know, and that's where I'm like, I don't even care. I was like, bro, if you have 20,000 followers, I want 20K views just to know that you're even putting it in front of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So once I saw you say on, I think it was the story, you said, so you know what? From here on out, I'm going to start posting as if my 40,000 followers actually see all my videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was like, dude, I got so mad. That was also towards the end of the year where I was like, you know what? Because, like, people, like, my friends around here, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, like, Sham's a content creator. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I was like, no, I'm just on TikTok. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I was like, I am a content creator. I was like, I do just be on this app every day. And I've amassed some amount of following, and, like, that's either through people finding my music or, like, videos that pop off, and then they realize that I rap every day, and they're like, I don't need to rap every day. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm going to do it. And yeah, so I was like, I'm going to just start talking like I'm a fucking big ass YouTuber or something, like, what's up? You know, like, I was like, it's just like shit.
What's up, guys?
Welcome
to the video.
Everybody? It was like, back to another Sham Jam. And I was like, I just
Sham Jam.
And I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to address. I was like, because I was like, I just never get on TikTok and start talking. I'm just like, I find I do that a little bit. I'll get, like, text wall stories on my Instagram sometimes where I'll just, like, write a paragraph or stuff like that. But I don't know, like, for me, I was like I was trying to, like, I think because I was trying to battle I got a lot of followers through viral videos, and then I got to a point where it was like 39.2K, and I think I spent all year getting that up to like 39.6, and I was like, crazy how you can gain 30,000 followers off of, like, a video, which I didn't. It wasn't all one video, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can gain a shit ton of followers from a video popping off, and then, like, it just, like, spend the next 8 months getting a fraction of that, but arguably putting out shit that I was way more into. So it's like,
I just think it's like a casino machine, dude. Like, you pulled the lever and it hit the jackpot. Now we're waiting again.
There's do you know Third Person on TikTok?
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's he spells it as THIII, third person. So it's like, but his content is so it's like in waves. I either love it or I hate it. Because he's like really funny, and he's very technically. He's very good technically, but like sometimes his delivery, it's like, and he knows it. He's very smug about his shit. It's like, I'm gonna post this, and people are either gonna love it or hate it, and I think he nails it. But he was someone I met a few years ago on there, and he posted on one of my videos, and he was like, "Yeah, TikTok is a lottery." So I like in one of my verses, I was like, TikTok, or third person told me TikTok is a lottery, homie. I'm loving the game. Because it really did, like, it was like, yeah, every video was kind of all over the place. You're like, is this viral? Is it not? You know?
Yeah, and ultimately, it's the video that you weren't even trying on that is viral. So you're like, God damn it! All right, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I was like, maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I should just turn the camera on and talk. Fuck.
So I think it's Tessa Thompson, the comedian. Like, she posted a video recently where she's just saying like, so listen, the videos that I work really hard on, they don't really get that much traction on these platforms. But when I just wake up in the middle of the night and just film something, all of a sudden it gets tons of views. So I'm just wondering, like, do you guys hate effort? Like, do you just hate trying? Do you?
Dude, I know. Like when you were earlier, when you're like, oh, you got to think that the audience is like way smarter than you, or like, you know, and I'm like, yes, but there are times where like you will do that, where you're like, I spent like a whole week putting this shit together, and then they're like, ass, like, that sucks or whatever, you know. I'm just like, so I have to look like shit, and like I have to do this in like one take, and I have to do this just to like get some fire emojis, like, as opposed to you just
have to hit the gritty. You have to.
You gotta be like, oh man, like, that's really funny. Yeah, but it does seem that way. It's like everything that is high effort gets like, wow, they probably like I don't know what the audience is, you know. I watched I don't know if you saw it or anything, but like I watched this interview with like Rick Rubin, and he was like, very much, he's like, oh, the audience is the last person I think of, like, when we're writing music. He's like, fuck them. He's like, and I was like, damn. I was like, I don't actively, I would say, you know, like you said earlier, it's like, I don't know if I actively am thinking about people while I'm writing shit, because while I'm writing it, it's for me, right? It's very, I'm doing my own thing with that, but like, where he was like, just don't even consider them. He's like, well, are you writing for them, or are you writing for you? And I was like, that's a good point, Rick. You know? So just having that balance of being like, yeah, I'm just going to write it, and if you like it, you like it. If not, that's fine. This is a huge world, and someone else will find it. So I try and live in that space a lot of the times when I'm putting stuff together.
Yeah, because it's a big world. I mean, recently I moved to Chicago, and part of that was to have a constant reminder, because in Flint I didn't have that. It was kind of just, I was locked into that perspective of, okay, this is the way things are. And now it's like being in a city, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, there's definitely a way more beyond my own small little version of reality that I've paved for myself. And so, I feel like I gotta keep myself tuned to that, because that's the truth. I mean, whatever you could master your own craft in a box, but ultimately it'll be whatever you had in that box that helped you master it. So I just always look outwards and allow that to help me look inwards. And with that, folks, we are going to wrap this one up, because Ruse does have a time constraint. We could go and go and go, I'm sure.
I think
and
so,
we will do this again, because it was fantastic to meet you and to talk with you. And I think that we have a lot of parallel perspectives. I think we look at things very similarly, my friend. And I think that it takes artists to inspire other artists. So this conversation got my creative juices flowing, and I'm going to go do something great today. I hope you do too, and I look forward to doing this again. And go ahead and tell the folks where they can find you and all those closing statements and all that.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Shamothy, SHAMOTHY. And then I think on TikTok, it's Shamothy, but there's 2 Ys. And then definitely check me out on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. Hopefully putting out some new music. I have about 3 songs ready to go, and I'm just waiting on artwork. So hopefully we're going to start dropping some songs in March.
All right. March it is, folks. Mark your calendars. All right. Set your alarms. And most of all, don't anybody in this audience go and be a toxic lobster. Thank you so much for being here. Ruse Radio. Clocking out.
I see it all from the White Tower. How I got powers more than ever. Time flows like a hot shower. Like a whole world and only one truth. Like a whole life, knew only one youth. Fall from